Hi everybody, buenas tardes. We are just waiting for our special guest, Roberto Martinez, to join us. Hello Yoli, how are you? Good to see you. We are just waiting a minute or so. We're waiting for our special guest to arrive and join us, Roberto Martinez. I sent him a message earlier saying be on time. So we're just gonna wait a minute or so. It's good to see you. We'll just give it a minute here, waiting for more folks to join as well. We're gonna have a really great conversation with Roberto, short and sweet, about what's all the hype with these Google tools. We hear so much about these that we just wonder what's going on. How do we use this for our small business? I see him now. Welcome, Roberto. Let's try this again. There he is. Buenas tardes.
Buenas tardes. ¿Cómo estás?
How are you doing, Roberto?
I'm hanging in there. Fired up, ready to go.
That's awesome. Well, your settings changed. It looks like you're outdoors, so that's nice.
I am. It is nice. I've been in a cave the whole day. Is it too loud? If it's too loud, I'll go back inside into an office building.
No. Está bien, está bien. That's good. We need
Okay.
that setting because we're always
Yeah.
I'm always stuck inside, so this is good.
Oh my goodness. You have no
So
idea.
I was just telling folks as we were getting started that this is going to be a good conversation because we hear about all these Google tools, and I'm one of those, right? Like, ¿pa qué tanto? ¿De qué se platica tanto with Google? Like, what's all the hype? And so I'm glad that you are here and you joined us. And for those that are viewing live and those that will get to watch the recording later, I think we got a lot of good substance and content to share. But first, I'm going to start off with giving you a shout out. So Roberto and his company, Braven, actually put together our Bella website. So yay, I wish I knew how to do like emojis on this thing. I don't know how, but hand claps to you. So thank you for that. It's beautiful. I love how just user-friendly it is and everything. So wanted to start off with giving you that shout out. But let's start off with learning a little bit about you. I think you have such a beautiful story into how you kind of got into this business of helping businesses and your background. So how about you introduce yourself a little bit and then we'll dive into kind of those golden Google nuggets that we all want to know about.
Fantastic. First of all, thank you so much, Rocio, for inviting me, for letting me be part of your space. So important to have these spaces where we feel comfortable and are able to communicate our mission and vision and how we help small businesses. I think we're kindred spirits because we believe in this mission. Nonprofit, for-profit, doesn't matter. We help our community wherever they're at. So a little bit about my background. I started my agency 5-6 years ago now. Comes from a bigger agency. Really what the mission was there is my mom. Nuestras mamás, nuestros papás, muy emprendedores. You know, they're workers. They figure out how to work. They start working at age like 10, it feels like. She came over here and she started her company. And obviously she doesn't know anything about digital. She doesn't know anything about marketing. And I realized we need to change that. So I see a lot of Latino entrepreneurs, mom and pops, that need some assistance when it comes to scaling their businesses and getting them online, making them resilient. And that's really what the mission is of the agency, is to help small business become more resilient, Latino minority-owned businesses become more resilient by bridging that digital divide, by giving them the tools they need to get to the next level, right? Because they're already serving their communities, they're already helping their local neighborhoods. And that's really what the mission is. And you know it very well. You do it every day with USC and also Bella. So very lucky to be here. And thank you so much for letting me plug myself in.
Of course. Thank you so much, Roberto. I think you hit on something really important, especially for all those Latina-owned businesses, Latina entrepreneurs out there listening. It's something that I think women really have to kind of, I don't want to say fight for, but it's like an everyday challenge sometimes that presents itself, right? Some women are kind of juggling motherhood with their business, with their full-time job. If it's a side gig, and there's a lot going on, and they do their business really well. They know their content. If it's a service-based business, they do their product so well, and it's such great quality. And yet, how do we get the message out about what we're doing, right? And that's where the digital tools come in. So kind of getting on the topic of our chat today, because I know we have limited time, but I wanted to hear from you. So in our conversations previously, you had shared there's so many things that business owners probably don't know about Google, right? Like we all use Google. Like I Google everything. I get a cut on my finger. What kind of Band-Aid should I use? Let me Google that, you know? So Google's our friend. My kids keep saying, why don't you ask Google, Mom? So it's something that we use in our everyday lives. But when it comes to small businesses, there are things we know about, right? Like listing your business, maybe that's important. And that's a little bit more obvious. We hear that a lot more. But what we want to kind of dig deep here is what are those like maybe tools or resources that Google has that business owners and entrepreneurs don't necessarily know about? And how can those tools help like elevate folks' business to the next level? So I'll let you kind of take it on and you know, we'll talk a little through it, but I know there was at least 2 or 3 things you wanted to share.
Yeah, I love it, and I think that's true. We have such passion for what we do, and we love what we do, but it's also thinking about, you know, if we say within our own little neighborhood, environment, city, it doesn't get out to the general community, and understanding how to do that. And the first tip, and it's not really a trick, it's just a tip. If you do have a product, this means, you know, you're selling shirts, you're selling whatever it is. I remember when I was a kid, I used to go out with my dad, and we used to do yard sales. We used to go find yard sales and then resell them, or go to the swap meet and do the same thing. Any product that you guys have, any product, you guys can use the Google Merchant account. A Google Merchant Center is exactly what it sounds like. It's where you could list all the products that you have to be able to be on Google search engine. So when you type in cobija or blanket or towel or pants or certain types of hats, and on the Google search engine, it populates on the very top images of those products. That could be your company showcasing your product. And so that's free. It doesn't cost you a dime to set up. You go through the Google Merchant Center to set it up. Now, obviously, you have to be verified. Having a Google My Business is going to definitely help you, but that's a free service that Google provides you. Now, you can take that and also advertise online and use Google Ads, but it's not necessary if you want to maintain your budget. You're very, focused on growing organically just by setting up and going to your Google Merchant account. That's the first piece of advice I have to any e-commerce company that wants to sell their product online. Get on there and be able to sell your product online, so that when people search for your particular product, it'd be cobijas, blankets, shirts, pants, shoes, whatever happens to be, your product pops up.
That's
awesome.
Awesome.
The first one. Yeah.
Yeah, number 1. Sigue el 2.
El número 2, right? So a lot of people ask me, Roberto, no tengo mucho dinero para empezar. How do I start my website? How much does it cost for me to set up my website? Should I invest? I hear people tell me 5,000, 10,000. I always start with, let's just get online. So the first thing you have to do is, I'm not going to talk about Google My Business. Everybody knows about Google My Business. But within Google My Business, there's a tool that allows you to have a free website. It doesn't cost you a dime. It's completely free. It's called Google My Business, and in there is a little page that allows you to set up what's called a microsite. Google will give you a domain name at no cost. It's completely free, and let you set up that one microsite at no cost on Google My Business. You could also go to Google Sites, and right there you can also set up a free website at no cost to you. So at the bare minimum, you could start having an online website presence at no cost. It doesn't cost you anything. It's completely and utterly free. Free 99 is the best price for most of us when we are just getting started with our hustle, right? It's like, how do we get started? How do we start selling? How do we get online? So that's the second one that I have for you. And there's one more, but if you want to touch on that, I could definitely explain how that works.
Yeah, I mean, I think a little bit for those of us, I include myself in that, those of us that don't really it sounds great. Like, wow, a free website, but there's still some level of competence I need to be able to build that out a little bit, right? And then the other piece that, we can touch on after you're done with the third is, I know sometimes folks have a lot of questions around privacy, right? Yo no quiero poner eso allí. Like, who's going to have that access to that information, So I think privacy is something that our communities, we value that. We build trust over time, and sometimes we don't really trust the internet, And so for maybe those that are having some doubts around the privacy issues, if you could speak to that a little bit too, that'd be great.
Yeah, great question. So there's definitely a certain amount of levels of privacy, and I'll touch very briefly on the position that Google has. You get to opt in or opt out automatically, regardless if you want to or not, the moment you have a website. Those are and the state of California is very, very strict and very straightforward in what this means when it comes to your privacy. You have a right to be informed of if you want to allow any website. Forget about Google. It's the actual website that you're landing on, if you're going to allow them to track your IP address. And that IP address can be seen as your fingerprints online. So you as a consumer, this is not talking about as an entrepreneur, as a small business, or just a consumer, as your everyday data, that's what's being tracked online. And that's just not for Google. That's any and all companies. So if you let me take off my Google hat, just as a consumer, you need to realize that you're already being tracked if you choose to opt into the cookies. And that could be on your social media sites, that could be on your websites, that could be on your phone. Your phone, actually, the way it works is there's a bunch of towers, and your phone messages that tower, and the tower messages it back to get that Wi-Fi and the wireless. The moment you leave coverage from that tower, your phone picks up another tower, and it's called triangulation. It triangulates where you are in real time in an actual location. So it's already happening with your device that you're holding right now in this chat. Has nothing to do with Google, Facebook. It's just the space that we're in right now. So when it comes to protecting your privacy, you have to have some awareness of what you're willing to put out there. And from my standpoint, it starts with social. It does not start with the company that I represent right now, which is Google. It starts with, what do I want my community to know about me, and how do I manage my brand? Understanding what you're about and what you want people to know about and how you communicate that is way more important than as a starting point. Now, the second thing that I would say about privacy is your mission. Like, if you understand what you're about, I would tell most people, create 2 accounts. Create your personal account, block it, keep it private. That's your life. Maintain that. And then your public account, which is your company. I have the same thing. I have multiple accounts on 2 different sites, where I have my private account, which is my personal stuff, and then my personal account, which is my external facing account. Everything is out there now. If a person wants to find it, they can find it. So it's very important to be very mindful of that. But going back to the entrepreneurial spirit and who you are as an entrepreneur, very, very, very important to own your truth. A veces como la gente, I think it's not that we're scared of the privacy, but we're scared of owning our truth. We want to be brave, but we don't know how to be brave, or los queremos aventar, but we're like, what if? And the truth is, my mom always told me, like, why do I need a Facebook page? Why do I need an Instagram page? I'm like, Ama, ¿quién te va a encontrar? Everyone is online now, everyone. So being able to be online is extremely important, which brings up my third point. If you do have a product and you do want to sell that product, Google My Business has a functionality within it that allows you to sell your product, which is really cool. You could actually sell the shoes, the shirts, whatever you want within Google My Business, and a customer can see it and then request access to it, which is really, really nice. A way for you to sell without using any paid ads. There's no paid ads involved. You list all the different products. And even if you're a service industry like yourself, let's say I want to hire you, Rocio, to help consult for me, you can set up your consulting fee. You could set up your consulting intro price. You could set up your consulting hourly rate, and you could set up your consulting project base. And people can request your services directly using Google My Business services and or products. Again, allows you to sell immediately online without any problems.
That's awesome, Roberto. And actually, we have a question here that I think is a good one. This was one we need to demystify too. And I know it's a workshop all on its own. The SEO, ni sé decirlo. SEO, the question, Latina Hustle, shout out to Latina Hustle. what is SEO and how is it beneficial for business? So I think before you answer that, I just want to preface with there's so much like depth into digital, social, Google, and ideas brewing. I have them, Roberto. Maybe a Google workshop through our Bella platform for those that want to dig a little deeper into some of this stuff. But can you speak to the question? They keep getting messages on their website talking about CEO needs work, and you're not on Google, and so I think differentiating between like who are those that are real and helpful, and what does SEO even mean? So.
Well, you got me sitting up now. I was relaxed, but now we're getting into the. Ahora sí, se calentó el comal. No, so let's talk about SEO. SEO just basically means search engine optimization. Google is a search engine. The competitor to Google, I'm not going to name it. Let's call it ing. You could fill in the blank ing. That's the competitor. It is where people go on to find whatever problems that they're having. And the way you want to think about SEO is when someone searches, let's say, for example, consulting for small businesses, consulting for entrepreneurship, consulting for nonprofits, we want Rocio to pop up on the first page of Google. We want to be able to find Rocio on the very top, because that way she'll get what's called traffic. She'll get people going to her website because they'll say, I'm a nonprofit and I need to hire a specialist that knows about nonprofit work. And obviously Rocio's the expert when it comes to nonprofit. So I'm Googling consulting specialist for nonprofits. We want Rocio's company, the Bella, to pop up on the first page, on the first listing, because what's going to happen is the customer is going to look at that. They're not going to scroll all the way down. They're not going to go on the second or third or fourth page. They're most likely going to stay on the first page. They're going to click on Bella. Bella is going to get the traffic, or going to get a call saying, hey, we really like your website. We want to hire you as a consultant for our nonprofit. That is free money, in essence. That is free website traffic to your business, and that's what this is all about, is driving as many people to your quote-unquote marketing funnel, right? I have one hand right now. So just think about a funnel. You want to drive as much traffic to that funnel so that people can call you or request your services. And that's why search engine organic search is so important. So how do we get to the first page of Google? The way you want to think about it is a library, right? Think about an old school library without computers. 30 years ago, you used to go look, and let's say I love history and I love baking. Let's talk about like ancient Roman recipes. And I geek out on that stuff. I want to cook like the Romans. So I go and I look at Roman recipes or Roman cuisine in my library. I go to my index card, I look it up, I find the index name, number, and letters, and I go to that part of the library where I could find that book. The same way it works for the Google search engine. Google is compiling the words information into different categories, and then it's indexing that category according to subject matter and relevancy to the customer, to you as a person using the search engine. And what they want to do is inform and give that customer the right amount of information. This means if I'm looking for Roman cuisine, I want to make sure when I type into the search engine, the best recommendations are found on Google. Same thing works for your company. It's really important for you to have a strong website, which means content marketing 101, to make sure you're informed and delight your customers, to make sure that you think about what are my customers searching for. So for example, Rosil, you're making this amazing video, you upload it to your YouTube and to your website, you create a blog about it, and all of a sudden Google's like, wow, Rosil's a subject matter expert. She gets nonprofits, she gets what Google does. When someone's looking for her on Google search engine, we're going to recommend her as opposed to other people in the internet.
Yeah, there's so many pieces, I think, and for us to try to understand everything is also tough. So I think it kind of brings us to like our closing here, because I know this is like such a great conversation, pero ya se nos está acabando el tiempo. So just any final kind of thoughts or words of wisdom you want to share for all the Latina entrepreneurs out there, all the all-inclusive entrepreneurs and small business owners out there, that you want to share. And then also last, don't forget, let's put the plug in for Roberto and his company and Google, because you work for Google too. Yes. But we'll share that in our follow-up post, how to reach you, because we do have folks that are asking how to connect with you. So what are your final words of wisdom from the king of Google? que tenemos aquí.
Eh, yeah, sigue dándole. Like, don't quit, don't give up. It takes some time. It's really hard. I admire how resilient our community is. It gets me emotional. Anytime I'm tired, I just think about how hardworking my aunts and my friends like you guys, you have your own nonprofit, you're working a full-time job, and you're going to school, and you're a mom. It's it's inspiring. So keep that in mind. I think that motivation, like always remind yourself, always realize that. I think the second thing is have your mantra ready. You know, what would you do if you weren't afraid?
Mm.
And think about that. Like, what is driving? What am I running from, and what am I running towards? It's really important. And the last piece, use those tools. Google Merchants, free. Google website on Google site or Google My Business within Google My Business functionality, free. And third is the list your products and or services if you do have Google on Google My Business so they could buy from you. Those are my 3 recommendations. I hope to be able to work with some of you ladies and meet you guys in person once this pandemic passes. I'm very excited for you to have me here, Rocio, and I appreciate you creating this space.
Thank you, Roberto, so much. I
Yeah.
love those words of encouragement. Ya saben, those of you listening, we're here for you. We're a community. I think just let's keep building our tribe together and helping each other and supporting each other. The resources are out there. Let's connect the dots. And I'm here to be that connector. Roberto's here to be that connector.
Yeah.
So we'll make sure that we put in the post how to reach him. I think a simple DM to get started and or an email will connect you with Roberto. So Roberto, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and your passion with us. You know that I consider you a good friend, and just thank you for joining today and being a part of this. So hasta pronto, everyone. It was good to see you all. Thank you. Good luck with everything. Adios.